Yeah, as the slide says, a self-defense class. And a little bit about me, other than being the guy in the kilt. I've been doing martial arts for years and years and years, and I am also certified in asserted self-defense. Out of curiosity, how many folks in here have done a self-defense class before? Nobody?
It's really self-defense with military training.
It was what?
Military training.
Okay.
So we were punching each other with boxing.
You've had several self-defense classes? Yeah. Have you been like me, and a lot of them are it's like, okay, now do this, 5 paragraphs later, throw them to the ground and run away?
Well, mine was kind of military training, so they basically pretty much attacked me.
Okay, yeah. Military training, that's... So I guess I should have prefaced civilian self-defense.
Does karate class count?
Sort of, and I'll get into that,
Okay.
which is actually the next slide. First we need to define what self-defense is, which is purely making sure that you're okay at the end of the day. Notice that I didn't say getting into fights and winning. If you get into an actual fight, chances are you've actually lost at the self-defense part. Also, like you were saying with doing martial arts, if martial arts are wonderful, they're great, and there's a lot of things that you can take from traditional martial arts and apply to self-defense. But at the end of the day, a lot of times traditional martial arts or MMA or whatever, they are interested in, okay, well, what if I take this person and put them in a ring and have them fight with these rules? And also, it's like, okay, and for this length of time, so running away isn't really an option. I'm a big fan of, when thinking about self-defense, I'm a big fan of thinking of the analogy of the cornered cat. If anybody has had a wild animal stuck in their garage, you get them stuck in a corner. If they see a hint of daylight, they're heading to that daylight. If your face is in the way, I'm sorry, your face has been ripped off. Also, once they have reached that daylight, they're not sticking around to ask questions or to make sure you're not going to give them chase. They're gone. I've seen a lot of reports of where, especially men, unfortunately men get in a lot more trouble with this than women do, where someone will attack us and we get away, or we get them to run away from us and we go and chase them. That's a bad idea, because congratulations, you're now the attacker and they're the defender. You could have, it's like, okay, go back in, get some hot chocolate, deal with whatever wounds you have. And there's been a lot of instances where, oh, that person chased the guy that initially attacked him and found that guy's buddies, and things got really bad for him when they couldn't. Also, and big disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer. Don't take any legal advice from me, but there are instances where, okay, if you've given him chase, the legal system tends to frown upon that. And yeah, like I said, it's not boxing, it's not MMA, it's not karate in the ring. A lot of those things translate well to self-defense, but at the end of the day, the goals are different. You're not trying to prove that you're bigger or badder than the other person. You're just trying to prove that you're going home at the end of the day. Also notice I say you, not you and your family. It's a weird thing to think about, but statistically, if you and your wife or husband or child or whatever, or buddy, if all of you get kidnapped and you get away, but they don't, they have a much higher chance of surviving because you got away. And that's because, well, you can go get away and go to the cops and tell them, hey, I was kidnapped by these guys, they're held up at this house, and oh yeah, they have a couple of my buddies, can you go rescue them? And as big as bad as any of us are, we're not as big and bad as the local police department with all of their riot gear. And while we're talking about nasty stuff, we have to recognize that there are four categories of violence. First one is fear, which is just simply maybe you scared somebody and they attack just out of blind shock. In that case, self-defense is whether that first hit and then go, hey, whoa, hold on. Frenzy, which most of you folks are old enough to remember the movie Falling Down. You know, where he went and blew up the McDonald's because they wouldn't serve him breakfast at 10:45. His character is a classic example of frenzy where things just haven't gone that person's way and they just don't have, they don't feel like they have any options. They're out to lunch. These are dangerous people to be around because there's no talking to them. There's no reasoning with them because they feel that they've lost everything and there's nothing else for them to do. Best thing to do is leave because it's either separate yourself or put them down. That's pretty much your only options. Tantrum, this isn't that they've lost everything, it's that they're angry at the world. Most mass shooters would be classified as tantrum. Things usually have built up. Usually if you go back and look at what's been going on in their life, you can see, oh, he got bullied here, got picked on, this went bad. And then they finally snap. Again, there's not a whole lot to do other than escape. In the case of mass shooters, I'm a big fan of what the FBI tells us, which is first run, as in get away from that person, whether it's the next room, whether it's the next block. Next town is a wonderful place to be. If you can't run, hide. Under a desk, bathroom stall, whatever. Now, when you hide, be careful. If you're hiding in a spot where you cornered yourself, you might end up in a very bad situation. If you look at the Pulse nightclub shooting, there were some folks that ran into the bathroom stalls. Unfortunately for them, the cops didn't manage to deal with the shooter for 3 hours. He calmly walked into the bathroom and started shooting them in the bathroom stalls. If those two options aren't available, and only if those two options aren't available, that's when you fight. Fight back with whatever you have. If it's your hands and feet, I'm sorry, but it's your hands and feet. If it's, you can throw a desk at them, throw a desk at them. Do whatever you can. And keep going back to the fighting until they're out of the picture, whether it's unconscious or you have a chance to get out of there. And the last one, which is the most common, is extortion, whether it's blackmail, guilt trip, mugger saying, hey, give me your wallet, where the threat of violence or bad things happening to you is, well, if you do this for me, then I won't hurt you in some way.
Let's see here. What we got next?
And also, by the way, if anybody ever has any questions, just go ahead and raise your hand and I'll try to take care of them right then and there. and getting to actually how violent behavior happens. There's 5 stages, 5 phases. The first one is intent. This is when planning happens. You really can't do anything about this because chances are you don't know about it. This is when they figure out, well, I need to go mug, I need some quick money, so I'm going to mug somebody in the park. Or, hey, that girl is hot, I'm going to go do terrible things to her. The second one is where we can do a lot of things. That's the interview process. Usually you can do a lot of things during the interview process. And this is when they're going to ask you questions either verbally or through body language. Whether it's actually asking, hey, what time it is, so they can see that you've got a nice watch on, or if you've got some money. Whether it's walking down the street. I've got a great personal example where I was out later than I probably should have the Thursday night before Dragon Con one year. And I was going from one hotel to another, which required me walking down a block where there really weren't any people. As I was crossing the street, a guy that looked like he was going to cross the street coming my way turned around and followed me. As I was walking up the hill, I kept my eye on him, and he kept the exact same distance the entire way up. Every time he saw me kind of looking at him, he might back off a little bit. Was that guy actually planning on doing me any harm? I can't say 100%, but every bone in my body said that this guy was planning on doing something bad to me. And it's perfectly okay to listen to those voices. Usually they're correct. And if they're not, in that case, well, I kept an eye on a guy and thought that he might be suspicious and nothing happened. Versus not listening to him, giving him my back, and if he was planning on doing something bad to me, I probably wouldn't have known until the actual attack happened. When the attack happens, that's when you can react, and after you react, that's when they get to react. I believe there's a talk later this weekend on the OODA loop. I highly recommend you guys check that one out. And there's a lot of thought processes in that on how attack and reactions to attacks work. And with self-defense, as with anything, there are rules. Rules to self-defense: number 1, your goal is to escape. That's pretty self-explanatory. Number 2, expect to be injured. You might be lucky, you might be able to not get injured. And this is all talking about when a person has actually gotten to the attack phase. There's a high chance that you'll get injured, but it's a lot better to get injured and escape than whatever the person might have been looking to do to you. I have one of my lower school friends, his mother was kidnapped, where somebody just grabbed her, threw her in the back of her car. She fought and jumped out of the car as it was moving, and driving off, she broke her wrist. She went to the cops, reported the crime. Because of that, they caught him and were able to link him to 4 murders where they're pretty sure he raped them before he murdered the victims. So with that kind of deal, a broken wrist, I'll take that any day. And keep trying to escape. If at first you don't succeed, keep trying. It doesn't matter how long it is. If the person has been successful in kidnapping you and 3 weeks later you get a chance to escape, do it. Your life is worth it. If you can't say that, I don't know what to tell you. And the last one, hit effing hard. If you're going to hit somebody, make them feel it. If you're going to hit somebody, know that it's probably, hit them like your life depends on it, because it probably does. The idea isn't, the idea isn't necessarily to knock them out or whatever. It's to distract them so that you can get away. But I can tell you that a broken nose is a lot more distracting than a slight tap on the shoulder. Speaking of which, how many folks have heard the TV or movie thing of yes, if you hit someone in the nose just right, you shove their nose bone into their brain and kills them? And a few folks, yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. Your nose is made out of cartilage, and your skull is a very, very hard bone, and the front of your skull is the hardest part of your skull. You're not gonna kill them by doing that. Now, if they fall over and hit the back of their head on concrete, then maybe. But also, if you've ever seen a guy the day after he's had a broken nose, where he has 2 giant black eyes, you can imagine, all the nastiness of not being able to breathe, having blood coming down your mouth, down your face, your eyes tear up. It's a very unpleasant day. That's one of the reasons why I do like the idea of hitting to the nose, because it is going to cause some serious issues. But there's a lot of folks that advocate, well, what you do is you gouge their eyes out, or this, that, or the other, and most people aren't willing to permanently blind people, especially beyond that. Most people are also not willing to do something where it's like, okay, now the next step is to wash the eyeball gunk off of your fingers. It's just nasty. Most civilized people get too squeamish to do it. And once the decision has been made that no, you need to attack somebody, there are 3 things that are important. 1, once you've made that decision, you need to do it now. It needs to be immediate. It needs to be ballistic. It needs to be as hard as you can, and just really nail it. And asymmetric, you are no longer having a discussion. It's a lecture. They don't get a say in this. If they try to have a say in it, you just keep going on top of them. Pure and simple. Now, of course, once we get to this stage, you are going to have a spike in adrenaline. Show of hands, how many people have had to deal with an adrenaline dump? Wow, only a couple people. So, we've all heard of fight and flight, right? That's the standard. Well, that's survival mechanisms. There's a few more to throw in there. So when you get an adrenaline dump, your basically everything except for the reptilian part of your brain shuts down. You probably won't remember a whole lot of this, because the part of your brain that makes memories, that gets shut down. Higher brain functions just gone. That's why I was saying before, I've been to a lot of self-defense classes where they say, well, if someone grabs your neck, you do 5 different things, and that can work if you're a trained martial artist and do it over and over and over again. out of a 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour self-defense course, you're going to get, okay, hold on, I'm supposed to do this, and then this, and could you bend your arm this way, because it's not quite working that right. So unless you're seriously training those complicated motions, basic stuff. Simple strikes, simple kicks. Don't try to do anything fancy. The first, and one of the options of an adrenaline dump is that fight mechanism, where you decide, oh, this is something bad is happening, time to gear up and pound on somebody. You also have the flight of, the classic time to run away, and freeze, where and by the way, just all these options, you can make percentages change as to how likely you're going to do one or the other. You can't make it 100% that you're going to do one thing. So if something happens and you freeze, don't feel bad about it afterwards. There is a reason for every one of these that nature has said, yes, these are options for survival. Freeze is, okay, I'm going to stop and see what the heck's happening. Yes, sir.
Honestly, I've been in my fair share of combat, and I've seen more freeze than anything else.
Especially if you've got bullets whizzing by, yeah, I can see that. Actually, I have freeze up here twice. One of those should be faint, which is slightly different. Freeze, you actually are aware of your surroundings. You may not be able to do anything about it, but at least you can, at least you know what's going on. Faint is the possum, play dead, oh, I'm out of here. Hope when I wake up everything's all right. Again, sometimes that does work. If it didn't work, our reptilian brains wouldn't have that as an option. Is it always the best option? Not necessarily. And the last one is acquiesce, which honestly, out of all of them, is probably the scariest to deal with, which is, oh, if I just give the attacker whatever they want, they'll go away and I'll be fine. Sometimes yes, a lot of times no. Especially, like I said, if what they want is for you to get in the trunk and go back to their place and have a good time, that is not going to go well for you. Which actually, I didn't put it in here, but one important thing to think of is a lot of times, and there's a lot of talk in the self-defense community about two different crime scenes. Crime scene one, which is you walking down the sidewalk, initial encounter. And crime scene two, where they have taken you somewhere. If they are taking you to crime scene two, you do not want to be at crime scene two. Assume that you are going to die. Because percentages, that's probably what's going to happen. I'm trying to remember the Firefly quote with the Reavers, that they'll rape you, kill you, and wear your skin, and if you're very lucky, in that order. They are not taking you to crime scene 2 because it is a more public place and easier for you to escape. They're taking you to crime scene 2 because they control crime scene 2, and they feel that they can do whatever they want to you there. Oh, and that's all I have on there. I know I have a few things on my notes that I haven't talked about. So this is more of the practical part of it, and it, like I said at the beginning, if anybody wants to actually come up and play, I have some waivers up here that I do need you guys to sign. Unfortunately, lawyers get upset with me if I don't. There are a few things. Nobody? Really? Okay. I promise not to hurt you. Okay. There's a few things that I do like to talk about, and also I apologize for a little bit of the rushed and disjointed thing. The class that I normally teach is 4 hours long, and we actually have one coming up on the 11th at KSA Marshall Academy in Nashville, if any of you guys are local and are interested in doing it. One thing that's highly important to remember is the words coming out of your mouth take up about 10% of actual communication. That's why we get in a lot of trouble online. People can't tell that you're joking or sarcastic or whatever. That also means that you may tell people, no, stop, but if it comes out as, no, stop, please, then they're probably not going to pay attention. If it's, no, stop, has a little bit of a different effect, right? And also, there's a couple things that I can show you without any volunteers. Just simply when you're in a confrontation with people, there's a position that we like to call the fence, where it's just simply one foot a little bit in front of the other and both hands up. One hand a little bit in front of the other. Conveniently, if I go from here, right, this is a fairly, pretty much universally, everybody understands this as, hey, I don't want any trouble, right? Pretty non-confrontational. Now what if I go like this? I haven't done anything other than close my hands, but that sends a pretty different reaction, right? But it's just as defensive and honestly just as aggressive of a position. Who in here has punched something before? Of those people that have punched something, how many of you have rolled your wrist punching something? Really?
Broken bone.
Broken a bone? Boxer's fracture?
Yep.
Okay. Does everybody know what the boxer's fracture is? Anyone not know what the boxer's fracture is? Okay. Boxer's fracture is this bone right here behind your pinky doesn't really have any support behind it. And if you punch something and all you hit is that pinky, you will break this bone. And I don't know about you, but the folks that I know that have had boxer's fractures, their doctors told them, well, we can either go through reconstructive surgery and put a pin in your hand and re-break the bone and all that fun stuff, or you can just live with a slightly misshapen hand. As the name implies, it is common enough with boxers who wrap their hands and then put essentially pillows on top of those hands to have that break, that the break is named after them. Out on the street, I'm not going to stand there and wrap my hands and put a pillow on my hands and go, okay, let me make sure I get a proper hit on you. So that's one reason I'm not a huge fan of punching. Another one is, like I said before, your skull is hard. Punching someone in the face, it looks cool in the movies and TV. It kind of sucks in real life. Because not only is your skull hard, where you're hitting them, there's lots of odd angles and pointy bits and sharp teeth. So it's a wonderful way to break your hand. As I was saying before, with rolling and ending up having your fist roll on you, if you have your hand like this and it rolls under like that, It goes like this. It hurts like heck. So instead of punching, I like to do a palm strike, which is just simply think of giving someone 5 to the face. And even though it's called a palm strike, you're hitting with the bottom part of the heel of your palm, so that really your palm's in the way of your forearm hitting the guy, right? Straight out. And that is just as powerful as a punch. Much less likely to injure you. And on top of that, while I said that you're probably not going to gouge someone's eyes out, if someone hits me right here, look where my fingers are. I'm still not advocating to gouge their eyes out, but there is nobody on the planet that is not going to have some sort of reaction at fingers flying at their eyes. Even wearing glasses. And again, like I said, we're looking for that distraction to get away. So the palm strike is a very useful technique. Another technique that I love is the elbow strike, which is just simply bringing that elbow around, hitting right above the elbow on the forearm. You can do a tremendous amount of damage with an elbow strike. And again, it's a simple strike. Do that. Knee to the groin, knee to the stomach, those are also effective. Kick them in the shins. Especially if you're wearing tennis shoes and they're wearing shorts. Kick them to the shins and slide down a little bit. Those lovely grippy treads will grab onto that skin and rip. And it will hurt like that. Do understand that your attacker, when you attack back, they're going to experience their own adrenaline level, which means they may not feel it. One of the things that happens when you get adrenaline is you stop feeling pain. So you may have to hit multiple times. You'll notice that all these strikes, not only are they going to hurt, not only are they getting a flinch reflex, but they're also doing something to the person. Joint locks, stuff like that are great, but there's also that point where you very well may be at the point of, well, he's not feeling it, and if I go further, I know I'm going to snap his wrist again. And while a lot of times he's a mugger, he deserves it, there's a lot of people who will get to that point and are just too nice and won't actually do it.
I broke somebody's finger once.
Okay?
Just the sound and the feel of it, and you never forget that.
And that brings me to something that whenever you're dealing with something like this, and this is true with just getting into an argument with somebody, there's a good chance that you're going to get flashbacks. Like you said, you'll never forget that sound and that feel.
We were twisting that little finger to that.
Okay, yeah. And adrenaline, and not necessarily. It sounds like you guys were just joking around and playing that day.
Well, he was drunk and harassing somebody, and I was trying to distract him and get him to back down. And I tightened down and did something that I knew he should have cried uncle for,
Right.
And he didn't. So I twisted just a little more, and that finger went snap.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not a huge fan of pain compliance, because you get folks that are
He was too drunk.
hopped up on something, whether it's alcohol, whether it's illicit drugs, whether it's adrenaline, And also, there's a certain percentage of the population that will not feel it until it's too late. Oddly enough, it seems to be higher in redheads that they don't feel it until it's too late. They'll feel the pressure, but they won't feel pain.
Good point. That dude was a redhead.
So nobody wants to get up and try anything? So those are the things that I'll have you do. So I'm not asking you to do anything terribly fancy or disturbing or anything like that. And if you want to come up and hit something, do you have your mother?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. But yeah, go. But yeah, like I said, sign a waiver and we'll get you playing.
Jerk. You're grounded.
Today is the 3rd, yeah.
Date it for tomorrow. That way, anything that happens today, you're free and clear.
And yes, you have to use your legal name. Don't worry, unless if you decide to sue me, these will go in a file to rot for a while, and then I'll try to. That's right. And you said you've never hit anything or anything like that? Okay, cool. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So first thing and what's your name? Sutton. That's good. Okay. So first thing I want you to do is, like I said, take up that fence position. Okay. And both hands out like this. Okay. So that palm strike, just like you're reaching for some water, just straight out. Absolutely. Okay. So first, just push against my hand. Okay. So all the way through. There you go. One more. Okay, good. Now hit. Actually hit. Yeah. Okay, good. Now one thing I failed to mention is one thing to always do when you've decided it's gotten down to that point of hitting people is yell, make noise. Whether it is stop, go away, leave me alone, whether it's just simply stop. That's fine. Absolutely. Yes, if you're going to go Bobby from Taking Up the Hill. One thing that announces that something wrong is going on to everybody around you. The other thing is it has been scientifically proven, oddly enough, through women's tennis. Ask me later. That making noise actually makes your attack harder. It gives you somewhere between 5 and 10% extra strength just for yelling. Because it causes you to contract your abs and all these physiological things. Okay? So, yeah, go ahead and hit. Now let's hear some noise. Let's hear some noise. Almost. There you go. So, let them hear the noise. Yeah, yell. There you go, yell.
Can't hear ya.
One more. Good. Okay. So the other thing I want you to do is, so palm strike is wonderful at that range. And you can feel the impact down here. Good. If they get a little bit closer, where you can't quite get that palm strike in, I want you to throw elbow, which basically think about grabbing your purse or your backpack and sticking your arm out like this and swinging through. So, and just push forward. That's it. Yep. And all the way to bend your knee. So, there you go. Good. Yep. Yep.
Really tall. This isn't going to be, okay, just stand back.
Okay. So this time I want you to actually pick up your front foot and drive forward. Yeah, no, that was right. But I need to hear some noise. So the other thing that yelling makes you do, you here can yell, but not without breathing. Right. So yelling requires you to breathe. Okay? So yell. Grunt, yell, whatever you want to do. They have to hear it. There you go. Good. One more. Good. Nice. Okay.
This feel nice.
Does it feel nice? Okay.
Nobody wants to do this. This is fun.
Yeah, usually I get people going, yeah, I want to hit you in particular. Yes. Obviously, I'm not doing my job right. Okay. 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 Now, instead of stopping here, I want you to go all the way through. Okay. No. So think about actually hitting something out here. This just happens to be nothing. No, through.
Pretend your target is about 14 inches behind where you're saying your elbow through it.
So think about hitting my hip back here, but you have to go through here to get there. Absolutely. There you go. One more. Good. Okay. That felt a little bit better? Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Being the first one to do something and being the only one to do something, it's kind of scary.
Come on.
And that's one of the things that we do in our 4-hour thing is we actually go through some scenarios to get you dealing with some adrenaline. If you haven't dealt with adrenaline, the only way to be able to deal with adrenaline is to have been through it. I don't really have the time, nor do I have. I need 2 or 3 more people actually running the presentation to be able to run it. But if you have the chance to do something like that, absolutely do it. Now, what I want you to do, have you ever played soccer? You ever played kickball? You know that sideways kick? So that straight forward is awesome for a groin shot. Hey, I never said self-defense was nice, right? So go ahead and show me that kick. Nice. Good. Okay. So now what I want you to do is hit sideways right here. So step in a little bit. So as you hit step, getting a little bit past and really nail it. Okay. Okay. And go and yell. Hit me. Yeah. There you go. Nice. See?
I don't want to do this.
Good. And the reason why I tell you to go sideways is a couple things. One, it's a lot easier to hit their shin if you're kicking sideways than kicking straight on. The other thing is the one time I've ever confirmed that I've broken a bone was what's called toe poking, where I kicked straight on and just kicked a soccer ball with my big toe. Unfortunately, I was in middle school and much shorter then, and there was a guy about twice my size kicking the ball the other way, and my big toe bent the wrong way. Right, so sideways is always great. And also, like I said, if you've got boots on or tennis shoes, that lovely grip on the person's shin is just going to bite in and take something with it. Let's hear one last one is the knee. So what I want you to do is think about skipping motion, but bring your knee up. Okay. And I want you to grab onto my shoulder, and as you bring your knee up, pull my shoulder in. No? You sure? Okay. You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it be nice to show everybody? They want to try?
Absolutely.
Show of hands, who wants me to do that? Oh.
Yeah, like, we're gonna say no.
Old democracy.
All these shirts that won't come up and do it themselves.
Yeah, y'all. All right.
Okay. So go ahead and grab my shoulder. Both hands. And drive that right knee into that. Drive it into that. Don't place it.
Yo.
Good. Go. There you go. One more fast. There you go. Good.
Everybody wants to hear the voice.
Great.
We done?
Is that sounding scary? A little bit?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Y'all should have done it.
So does anyone have any questions or anything in particular that they were looking to hear that I haven't talked about?
I have a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
You were talking about the open hand, for one thing,
Yeah.
and how it can, strike different areas. That open hand is really useful for, like, for instance, when you step forward with that elbow strike, you're going to be over here about the time I hit with that, and your groin is going to be right here, right? So
Absolutely.
the thing is, open hand, one of those, you don't even have to be a very good shot. If one finger, even one little edge of the little finger catches him in the testicles, he's going down. So that's the deal.
I would argue with
Wham,
that.
like that.
There's a lot of instances, especially with adrenaline kicking in, that guys don't necessarily feel it. But there is the thing of guys, since we were that tall and barely walking around, there's been another guy that's been trying to kick us in the groin. So we have learned very well on how to twitch out of the way and looking for it, which gains a response, which gets that distraction, which might be able to get you out of the situation. If you do end up hitting the magic button, and the guy's curled up and on the fetal in a fetal position on the ground, awesome, you can run away.
That open hand is hard to miss.
Yes, sir.
Also elaborating on that, wouldn't growing up a boy, always someone trying to hit you there, seeing that motion might make them buckle too, right?
Yes, yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Absolutely, you'll get that reaction pretty quickly out of most guys. Anything else? No. Okay. Well, if anybody thinks of any more questions, I'll be around all weekend. Come up and talk to me, and I'll be happy to chat with you. And I've got my equipment for the weekend, so if you change your mind and you want to try some stuff, absolutely come find me.
Thank you very much.
Okay.